Hi, Facebook. You know, my whole platform is that we can't reach our goals if we don't have time. I've realized after 2.5 years of working with women that we need to have time. We need to manage our mind before we can even talk about reaching our goals. And I think that's a big failure that we do to ourselves, that we create these goals, but we don't have the time to make them real. Last week, I made like a big mistake. It felt really big to me. And I want to tell you about it because it would have stolen a lot more time several years ago. Hi, Mom. I love that my mom's always watching me. Hi, Mom. So last week I posted a picture, and a woman who saw the picture was like, hey, that looks like my content. Now, this person is a friend of mine, and her work is so excellent. And she had shared this thing with me to do several years ago. It was like an activity/exercise. And it's just really good stuff. And I used it with my mastermind group, and she saw me using it. And she was like, hey, that looks like my stuff. And it was her stuff. I had not thought to ask her permission for it. I had done research on the exercise. I wanted to see if there was something I could buy or if I could make my own. But honestly, what she had created was absolutely the best thing that I had seen. So she sent me that note, and I immediately reached back out to her. But I didn't just like send a text or send a message. She had messaged me, but I actually called her. And I wonder how many times when you make a mistake on something, like, do you deal with it right then? When you make a mistake, do you like, let's figure this out? Or are you like, oh my God, I screwed this up. Let's push this aside. The reason I'm asking is when you deal with the mistake right away, your whole life changes. First of all, the person that you're dealing with is going to respect you a lot more. I did not want to wait and talk to my husband and my best friend and my coach. Like, I wanted to deal with this right away. I knew I had screwed up and I needed to apologize, and I wanted to explain why, and I wanted to make reparations. So I called her, and I got her voicemail, and I left a voicemail, and I also sent her a message and a text because I really wanted her to know that I was upset with myself and that I was sorry. But it really required me to be personally responsible, which is hard to do, right? And we have the safety of this screen that often keeps us from being personally responsible. So the reason I'm telling you about this mistake, I will tell you, she called me back. She was so kind. She was incredibly generous. And we actually talked about how to collaborate in the future. So it all worked out. But I will tell you, in those minutes, actually, I saw the message come in. My stomach dropped. Do you know that feeling when you've screwed up big time and your stomach just goes kerploosh? And then you start the mental gymnastics like, fuck, what am I going to do? How do I fix this? Oh, no. And then I knew I had screwed up, but I didn't mean to screw up, and it wasn't like malicious. And so there was so many emotions. Now, normally, old Jen would have taken days to process all that shit. And I would have had to talk through a lot of it, and it would have stolen my time. And remember, we cannot reach our goals if we don't have time and energy and mental space to do it. Do you have the time to reach your goals? Do you have the mental space to reach your goals? When we're in like an emotional storm like that, we don't have the time or the energy or the space or the clarity. And so I want to encourage you, when you screw up, which you will because you're human, when you screw up, deal with it. Whether that means making an uncomfortable phone call, having an uncomfortable exchange, saying, I'm sorry. Well, I mean, if you can just say you're sorry, it kind of takes the air out of somebody else's sail, and they can then help you solve the problem, right? But if you make a mistake and you're walking around jammed up about it and having to process it, or you're not even processing it, you go into self, that thing where you're like self-righteous. You're like, well, you shouldn't even be mad. She should know me better than that. Those two paths are going to steal your time and energy. And I promise you, you cannot reach your goal if you do not have the time. So I am talking about things that steal our time. And when you make a mistake, that will steal your time. I know that it's hard. I was mortified. Please believe me. I wasn't like all, self, aware, like, oh, I'm just going to figure this out. I was like, I saw the message from her and I panicked. And I was like, what did I do? Oh my God, that was her intellectual property. And I didn't even realize that it was because, like I said, I had done research and it looked like it was out there, but this was her stuff. So I had to call and figure out how to fix it. None of that was easy, and none of it will be easy for you, but I promise you, if you deal with the shit in the moment or very shortly thereafter, after you get a clear head, you're going to save yourself a lot of time. My whole goal is to help you reach your goal, and you can't do that if you don't have time. You can't do that if you have a cluttered mind in confusion, and you can't do that if you don't know how to achieve your goals. I hope that this was helpful. This was really hard to admit. It was terrible to come on to Facebook Live and say, hey, I was a gigantic ass last week. I made a totally big mistake. Hi, Trista. Hi, Katie. I made a huge mistake that I had to suck it up and apologize for. I will tell you, it worked out really beautifully because she was a generous person and she wasn't interested in holding it against me. That's not always the case. But if you can kind of get it off your soul, right? Like you get it out, you can move on and achieve more. How much time do you spend every day just spinning and overthinking and over worrying? I promise you, you're going to piss somebody off sometime. You are. We all do. We all get pissed off at some point. The best thing to do, apologize. This is something I learned the hard way. Talk more about that, Mom. What do you mean? Oh, like you would think about whether you had righted somebody or wronged somebody. I will tell you that self-righteous thing, that was my gig for a long time. I was like, if I had done something wrong, I wanted the other person to know that they had done something wrong, that it wasn't just me, that it was because of them. And that's, again, another gigantic waste of time. I learned that the hard way also. I think I've told this story in a blog where I was with my brother-in-law and I was telling him a story and I was all jammed up about it. I was like, ah, and I was totally expecting him to go, I can't believe that. I was expecting him to be as enraged as I was. But he just calmly looked at me and he's like, well, you can be right or you can be happy. And I was like, but wait, it makes me happy to be right. So I had to really work that one out in my head. I had to learn that sometimes you just say, I'm sorry. Sometimes you explain it, but really you have to apologize when you've screwed up or else it just eats it up at you. So my mom is saying that she writes it right away right now. Right. And I didn't used to do that either. I would how many times in high school would you hey Mike, how many times in high school would you talk about a situation with somebody else rather than just deal with the friggin' situation? That's the kind of shit that keeps us so stuck. It keeps us stuck from reaching our business goals, stuck from reaching our personal goals, stuck from reaching our professional and our our hobby goals. When we are stuck being self-righteous, when we are stuck not saying I'm sorry or moving through the shit, when we are stuck, we can't achieve our goals. So my goal for you is please create more time and energy by merely dealing with the shit when it happens. And sometimes that means you have to say, I'm sorry. And sometimes that means you have to have a hard conversation. And if the person won't let you off the hook or if the person won't give you the space to do that, then you get to decide, does this person deserve to be in my life? But until then, you have to have the conversation or else you're just in a story and it's a one-sided story and it takes you nowhere. If you have ever been in this situation, with the self-righteous stuff or the over-processing, please drop me a note. Let me know that I'm not the only one. My mom is with me, so she and I are high-fiving together that we have to deal with our shit very quickly. But I'm curious, does this resonate with you? If you like this video and you want to know more about how I help people get more time in their life, just follow me. I do these videos all the time and I have a lot of free content. So I'd love to hear from you. Thank you for watching and have a happy Monday night. Bye.